Okay, awesome, friends. Let's get started. So tonight's topic is how to get funding for your deals. So everyone is muted. If you have any questions or if you, for some reason, are not able to hear me, please send me a message, okay, so that I know. I'll be attentive. Perfect. So if you could please be so kind to put your phones on vibrate, I would greatly appreciate it. So friends, how do you get your deals funded? Very simple. All you need to know is one ratio that is crucial for lenders. It's called the debt coverage ratio. Okay, so let's go over the debt coverage ratio. What does that mean, right? For many people, this is foreign, but guess what? If you're a real estate investor, you must know what this is, okay? So this measures the ability for the investor to make the mortgage payments. So how do we compute this? So it's not complicated. It is the net operating income divided by the mortgage payment. Very simple. So what is the net operating income? The net operating income is your rents minus your operating expenses. That's what it is. And then divided by the mortgage payment. So the mortgage payment will be the principal and interest. Now, why is this important? Okay, so the reason why this is important is because, let me give you an example. If we do the math, you know, of your net operating income divided by the mortgage payment, and for instance, you get 1.33. So what this means is that you will have an excess of 33% more cash than what it's required to pay the mortgage payment. So that is why this ratio is so critical. So banks want you to have at least 25% more cash in reserves every single month than what you require to keep up the property. Pay all the expenses, including the mortgage. Okay, so in other words, you've got to have a positive cash flow. So rule number one, obviously, is to find a great deal, right? Rule number two, because these are the three things that most successful investors have. They have three things in common. Number one, they have a great deal. Number two, they understand basic analysis. And this is what I mean by basic analysis, understanding the debt coverage ratio, okay? And number three, successful investors have funding. But guess what? They have funding because they have a great deal. So why? Because the great deal will make the numbers work. So when we do the analysis of the property, we're gonna go through some case scenarios. We're gonna be looking at the debt coverage ratio, because if we hit this target of at least 125 to 133, you will get funded for the deal. And we're gonna package the deal in such a way that the lender will be able to easily approve you for the funding, okay? So having said that, let's make sure that everyone understands. So the debt coverage ratio, it is the ratio that is gonna show the bank the ability for your deal to cash flow in such a way that is gonna allow you to not only cover your operating expenses, such as utilities, management fees, taxes, insurance, but also the mortgage payment. What I mean by mortgage payment is your principal and interest, okay? So not only that you're able to cover your expenses, but that you have an excess of at least 25 to 35% cash in reserves every single month. So why is it a little bit higher than 1%? Obviously, the banks don't want you to break even, right? If you have a month that you collect $1,000, for instance, and then you pay all your operating expenses, and then at the end of the day, you break even. So you have $0 in your pocket. That is not good. That is not what the bank wants to see. So what Frida and myself have done is that we are targeting properties that have a debt coverage ratio of at least 1.5. So as a rule of thumb, target 1.5. Your lending is going to go smooth as it could be. Okay, so keep that in mind, 1.5. So we're gonna go and find some awesome deals, and then we're gonna analyze them to show you whether or not that deal is gonna get funded, okay, right off the bat. Because let me tell you, you might have awesome credit, you might have an amazing down payment of, let's say, 25%, right? But if your property doesn't hit the debt coverage ratio of at least 125, guess what? Guess what's going to happen? Your deal is not going to get funded. Is not going to get funded, okay? Because the bank needs guarantee that they're going to get paid on a monthly basis, right? And not only that, but that you have some reserves in excess of 25%, okay? So having said that, friends, successful investors have three things. They have a great deal, they understand the debt coverage ratio, and they obviously have funding because of it. Why? Because we are going to be targeting asset-based lenders, okay? So I would like for all of you to send me a message with some areas. So let's find some awesome deals. And guess what? We're going to make it very challenging. We're going to find a couple of MLS awesome deals and also off-market awesome deals. So if you could please, in the chat, send me some areas. It could be your local markets. Just send me a couple, and then we're going to use those to find some great awesome deals, off-market and MLS deals in minutes. So just open up your chat and then send me some areas. Let's just shoot for at least 3 to 5 areas at least, okay, so that we have some areas to play with. Or even just pick one. If it's easier for you, friends, I'm gonna unmute all of you so that you can give me some areas, if that makes it easier. Okay, so I'm getting some responses.
Yes, I'm Lansing.
Okay, so let's get to the nuts and bolts of these. Okay, so we're gonna find some awesome deals. So I have ChicagoDealVault open, and then we're gonna find some. Let's find some pre-foreclosures. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same for the MLS. So okay, let's pick up some areas. Lansing. What else? Hanover Park. Hanover Park. I'm looking at your messages. Okay, so we have, so these areas need to be, so just give me generic areas, Downers Grove, okay, Curl Stream, Elgin. So we have some in the South Chicago. Well, this is South Chicago Heights. I've been given some neighborhoods like Hyde Park, Chatham. So if you can just give me areas, like bigger areas, will be great. Okay, so we have these. We have some zip codes. Let's add some zip codes for South Shore. Oh, Chicago Reach. Let me just add a few more. Okay, so we got Chicago Reach, Joliet, perfect. And then we're gonna add a couple of zip codes. So we're gonna add some properties in the South, such as Hyde Park. So that's 60615. Okay, awesome. Let's see, you can separate the zip codes by comma. So 60540. Okay, so I think we have a good number of areas. Now, something that is going to be important, friends, is that we're going to be targeting properties that have high equity. Just as a refresher, high equity means that the owner owes, let's say, $50,000 and the property is worth $100,000. So the owner has over 50% equity. And then we're targeting pre-foreclosures, okay? So these are properties that are in distress. Owners are not able to pay the mortgage. Therefore, the bank is going to take over the property. So eventually, if the owner doesn't come current with the loan to satisfy the debt, then the bank is going to take over the property. So eventually, the property is going to go to the judicial auction. And then if it's not sold to an investor, or a third party, then it goes back to the bank. So that's called shadow inventory. That was just a refresher. Okay, friends, so let's find some awesome deals right now. Okay. So we found 103 awesome deals. So let's just quickly analyze some of them. So this is in Will County, Downers Grove. So let me just click on this property. So this is in DuPage. Now, why was this flagged as a good deal? Okay, so the balance on this property is 81,000, and this property could be worth 300 to 340,000. Although here we are not able to see the how many bedrooms. We only know the square footage of the property. Okay, so I want to find a property that we can see the number of bedrooms and baths. So I'm going to go to the next one, Hanover Park. So this is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,200 square feet. Okay, so why is this a great deal? Because the owner, as you can see, owes 78,000, and this property could be worth between 180 to 198. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, verify this number, right? The ARV. So the next thing that we're going to do is just find some comps in Hanover Park, okay? For a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. So I'm going to scroll down, and then all that we need to do is click on search. So I'm going to scroll to the right, and then we're going to click on search. So we're going to look for comps that have 3 bedrooms. Actually, for the bathrooms, we're going to expand these. So I don't want to limit to 1 bathroom. So we're going to go at least 3 bedrooms, maximum 3 bedrooms. And then bathrooms, we can go up to 3 bathrooms. And then, so we found 1, 2, 4 comps that sold in the last 6 months. So this is my search criteria. I want to go back as far as 6 months. Please don't go beyond 6 months, because appraisers don't go beyond 6 months, okay? And then we're going as the default within a mile radius, okay? So try to stay within a mile and then 6 months back. So here we found 4 properties. And then, so what we're gonna do is we will average out the close price. So these properties are within the square footage of the subject property. So the subject property, let me just go up to the top, has 1,200 square feet, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna plot the comps on the map. So these are within a mile radius. So the ARV on this property, we can safely say that this property is worth 240, 239, okay? And look at this. The owners owe only 80,000 on this property. So this is a fabulous property. So now let's run through the numbers, okay? So we know the property is worth 240. So the next thing that we're gonna do is check out make sure that we have a successful buy and hold and fix and flip exit strategy. So every successful investor needs to make sure that they can exit through buying and holding the property or fixing and flipping the property, okay? So the way to do that is we're gonna check out this property. Okay, so there's a question on the line. Frank says, does it matter if it has a lien on it? Of course it does matter. So that's a great point. So let's go up, and then here we have liens on the property, okay? So in here we have, let's look at the liens. So we have, so this is the mortgage. So it says 271,000. Okay, so let's go ahead and verify that. So let me show you something very cool. So we have a tab called Owner and Loans right here. So let me just click on that. This is going to give you tax information, sales history, owner information. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll down, and this is the most accurate information when it comes to the mortgages. So There's a position number one, so that's lien with a position number one. Obviously, it's a mortgage for 115,000. So as you can see, the date of the mortgage was back in 1999, so almost in 2000. So this is an FHA loan that was issued about 18 years ago. So that is why this lien, it might not be valid, okay? So what's valid is this number. This makes sense. So there was a mortgage issued back in right here, almost 2000, 1999, okay? And then the last mortgage or payment amount was done this year in March, okay? So this seems to be accurate based on the initial loan amount. So the initial loan amount about 18 years ago was for 115,000. Right now, the outstanding debt is for about 80,000, and it was last calculated beginning of, I would say, November, okay? End of October, beginning of November. So this seems to be accurate. So one thing is, if we see a lien right here for the mortgage, the safest option is to verify this with the actual owner, okay? So when we get in touch with the owner, we're gonna say, okay, the owner is John. Mr. John, I understand that you owe 78,000 on this property. However, we show in public records an outstanding lien for 271,000. Is that accurate? I highly doubt it, right? Because this property's ARV is 240, so it's not supported, right? This lien amount for 271 is not supported by the ARV, so that is why I highly question this lien. So, but the owner will be the one that can give us some more information on that additional lien. So Frank, great question. So for example purposes, let's just assume that this property has an outstanding loan amount for 80,000, okay? So we know this property is worth 240. So if we make an offer to the owner, to John, let's assume that we're gonna pay all in the 80,000, right, for the outstanding loan. There are gonna be some fees, so maybe add 5% or so. Let's say 80,000, and then we're gonna pay the owner a relocation package, okay, to settle somewhere else. So let's assume that we pay him 25,000. So we end up paying for the property $105,000 plus closing costs. Let's say we end up paying 115. Just for simplicity, let's pay 50%. So we're gonna be paying 50 cents on the dollar. So we're gonna end up paying 120 for this property, okay? That will include closing costs. So we're gonna go to the rental calculator and to the flip calculator, right? Just to make sure that we have both exits are successful. So if we rent the property, we know we're gonna be getting $1,600 for a 3-bedroom in Hanover Park. So utilities are going to be paid by the tenant. So let's just plug in few numbers for the maintenance. So we're gonna do 150 a month. Management fee is gonna be about 75,000. And then insurance about 90. Now taxes. Let's go back to the taxes. So I'm gonna go back to this owner tab information. Taxes are $47.55, okay? So I'm gonna do $47.55. Those are the yearly taxes. We need the monthly amount. So taxes are gonna be $396, okay? So let me go back to the calculator. Taxes are gonna be $396. And then we're gonna be paying for the property 50 cents on the dollar. So we're gonna be paying 120,000. Now the rehab, okay, we haven't seen the property from the inside. So let me just go up and then show you that based on the square footage of this property, which is 1,200, we're gonna be paying about, for a live rehab, it's gonna be about 15,000. And if we go on the higher end, we can go up to 20,000, up to 30,000, right, for this size property. So if we're gonna buy and hold, renting the property, we're gonna go on the light rehab. So let's assume that we're gonna spend $15,000 on the rehab, okay? So I'm gonna put 15,000, okay? And then we're gonna click on calculate. So what this is going to do, this is going to give us the positive cash flow per month. So at least we have positive cash flow of $373. So we target properties that have positive cash flow between 400 and up, okay? So now let's look at the debt coverage ratio, because I wanna make sure that we're gonna get funding for the property. So the debt coverage ratio is the, here, we're gonna use the calculator. So we're gonna give you the numbers right here. So it is the income minus the total expenses. So these numbers that you see here, that's the numbers that we're gonna use. Okay, so we're gonna do the monthly income, 1,600, minus the monthly expenses, 711, okay? So now we're going to divide this by the principal and interest. So the monthly mortgage, that means the principal and interest only, okay? So it's 516. Okay, so the debt coverage ratio is 172. So what this means is that we're gonna have 72% extra cash in our pocket. So this will ensure that the bank is going to get paid their mortgage payment, principal and interest, and we're gonna have an excess of 72% cash for this property. So that 72% is the $373 per month. So this property makes sense, okay? So this property will get funded, okay? So now there's a question. Is the assumption is that the property is going to be bought with cash? No, we're gonna finance the property, because friends, you don't want to use your own money. You want to use other people's money. So it's called OPM, other people's money. So we're going to make sure the numbers work for the lender so that we get funded for it, okay? So we're going to be using private money lenders that are asset-based, okay? So this debt coverage ratio, again, it's 172. So I'm going to show you the slide just to make sure that you understand. Debt coverage ratio measures the ability to pay the mortgage payments, okay? And how do we compute that? That is the net operating income, which is your income minus your expenses. In this case, we did 1,600 minus 711, okay, which are our expenses. And we divided that by the mortgage payment, which was a little bit over $500, okay? So we came up with 172, which obviously is higher than what the lenders or what most lenders require, which is 125 to 133. So in our case, our debt coverage ratio is 177. So that means that their property is going to generate 72% more cash than what it is required to pay the mortgage payment. So this deal is going to get funded by any asset-based lender, okay? Now, the second thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we're able to do a fix and flip on this property. So let's go over to the flip calculator and then run the numbers. So by default, once we computed the ARV, we already put these by default for you. So this property, we can safely say that it's worth $239, $240, okay? Now the rehab, now let's go back to the rehab estimates that we have. So we're telling you that you're gonna spend for a 1,200 square footage property between $15,000 to $21,000. Now we like to be conservative. For a fix and flip, we're gonna go on the high end. So we're gonna spend at least $20,000. So I'm gonna make these 25,000, okay? Because we always like to add a 10% percentage, right? For unexpected items that arise. So the 20,000 plus 10% is 22. We usually like to do at least 22, but for example purposes, we're gonna assume a safe rehab amount of 25,000 on this property, okay? Now the whole time, we usually like to default it to 4 months. Why? Because the rehab, you need to think about two things. The rehab amount is going to take you between 1 to 2 months for this size property. And then you need to account for another at least 2 months for market time, because you're going to sell the property. And then, for instance, if we do the rehab right now in the winter, so it's going to take us to January, February to do the rehab, and then we're going to be putting the property in the market sometime in March, okay, which is a great time. It's the spring, right? That's when most sellers put the properties in the market. So it's safe right now to assume that we're going to hold the property for 4 months. If we were in October, friends, I would move up these to maybe 5 months, okay? Because we're gonna run into November, December. So these are very slow months, right? Winter time. So even if we put the property in the winter time, it is just hard to sell it in the winter time. But the spring, it's just awesome, right? So we're gonna safely assume that we're gonna buy and hold the property, hold the property for 6 months. And then the sales cost, this is a percentage of the ARV. Okay, now let's put in some expenses right here. So utilities, we will pay when we fix the properties. This is like water, electricity, gas. So we're gonna put 150, and then insurance is gonna be 90. Taxes is gonna be 396. We came up with, and then how much are we gonna pay for the property? 120,000. Okay, we're gonna be paying 50 cents on the dollar, and then all we need to do is calculate. So let's see what the net profit is. So we can, this is a great deal. If we were to do a flip on this property, we can net about 80,000 if we do a flip, okay? So this property will work number wise. So again, the debt coverage ratio is 172 on this deal. Okay, so we have a question on the line. Okay, I'm a little bit confused. The income will come from a temporary tenant during the fix-up period? No. Okay, so when you do a fix and flip, the investor, so you will have to cover the holding time, okay? So the holding expense. So if we scroll down, we're gonna give you the holding expense. So if you hold on to this property for 4 months, this is gonna be your holding expenses. $4,600. So these will include your mortgage, your interest, your taxes, the utilities, the maintenance. So when you do a fix and flip, obviously there are no tenants in the property. So you will have to cover all the holding expenses, and we give them to you right here. So this is what you will have to pay out of pocket. Okay, but many lenders that we're gonna connect you with will give you up to 90% of the rehab amount, okay? And that will include some of the holding expenses that you will incur, okay? So don't let this number scare you. Okay, now real estate commission is between 3 to 6%, exactly. So real estate commission is going to be 3 to, I would say more like between 5 and 6%, okay? So if you update the number, then the profit goes down from 80,000 to 76. So good point, thank you for bringing that up. So the brokerage commission is gonna be 5%, 5 to 6%, okay? So this flip is going to make you about $75,000 if you hold on to the property for 4 months. Now, let's assume that for some reason, the rehab goes longer, right? So now it's going to be 5 months. So then your holding expense, it's going to go, let me recalculate, it's going to go a little bit higher. From 46, it's going to go to 57. And obviously, your net profit is going to go down, okay? When we do 5 months, when you hold. So now that we ensure, number one, friends, that you will have a debt coverage ratio of over 125, right? So as a refresher, you're gonna divide, you're gonna have the net operating income, which is the rent, 1,600 minus your expenses divided by the mortgage. So I'm gonna run this by you, how we came up with the 172. So it's the 1,600, right? Minus the 7-Eleven, which are the operating expenses, and then this is your net operating income. But we're going to divide this by the mortgage. So the mortgage principal and interest is going to be 516. So divided by 516, that's how we came up with 1.72. So what this means is that the debt coverage ratio, we're going to have 72% excess in cash. Okay, so we will not only be able to pay all the operating expenses, but also the mortgage. So this is what the bank wants to see. Now, the next step is obviously get the property on the contract, okay? So we give you the contract right here. So make offer. When you click on the make offer right here, this is the off market. This is how you get the property on the contract. So we give you a 2-page contract that is non-invasive, non-intrusive. And we're going to have a webinar just on making offers, right? We're going to go over every single line of this contract. But I just want to show you that this is the contract that you're going to present to the owner to get it on the contract. So when you upload your signatures and initials, we're going to put them for you right here, okay? So that is available when you click on the make offer. But tonight's topic is getting it funded. So the next step is to generate the report that we're going to present to the lender. So we're going to click on generate report. This report will have all the information that we just went over, okay? So right here is going to have your contact information. It's going to have the property address, all the property details, and then the 2 exit strategies that we did. So we're going to, if we do a fix and flip, we're going to be making $79,000 on this property. And then if we do a buy and hold on the property, we're going to be cash flowing about $373 per month, which is very good, friends. We personally like to target properties with a cash flow of at least 400, but this still is a great deal, right? Because the debt coverage ratio gives us enough cash to pay all the expenses, satisfy the mortgage payment, and then get it funded. So the lender also wants to see the comps, right, that support the ARV, because this number on the flip for the profit is based on this ARV, right? So we came up with the ARV. So the bank needs to see that you're going to back up this information. Obviously, they're going to order an appraisal, right? But when you get qualified for the loan, when they initially look at the property, they want to see comps, right, that back up the ARV. So here, we're going to show them the comps that back up the offer, okay? So right here, and not only that, but we're going to show the bank, the lender, or any funding partner, right? It could be the bank, it could be a private money lender, it could be a funding partner, right, who has tons of cash. Right here, we're going to compare them side by side just to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. So one of the things that we always look at, make sure that you have similar square footage, okay, plus minus 200 square feet. Like in this case, this property has about 1,000 square feet, which is very comparable to the subject property. This is 1,280, 1,300. So this is, we're comparing apples with apples, okay? Now there's a question on the line. It says, on the rental side, do the monthly operating expenses include vacancy? That's a great question, and monthly reserve amounts. So in the calculator, you have the option to account for vacancy. And that is why the bank always wants reserves. So that is why the bank requires a debt coverage ratio of at least 125, because in case that you were to have a vacancy, that excess of 25% of cash is going to cover for a vacancy of at least 10%. Okay, so that's a great question. And I'm going to show you that in a second when we go back to the calculator, how you can account for vacancy. Okay, now another question is, so the lender will provide the loan amount along with your 20% down payment. As far as the monies for the 5 to 6 months reserves, it appears that you should have reserves to cover the monthly payment. Okay, so the question is, Will the bank require that 20% down payment? Not all of them. Okay, some of the lenders that we're going to connect you with will require up to 15%. Okay, so less than 20%, 15%. Some lenders that we can connect you with will require even as low as 10% down. Okay, now as far as the reserves, okay, most importantly for lenders are the debt coverage ratio, okay, more than the reserves. Okay, so for reserves, somebody mentions that here 5 to 6 months reserves. That varies from lender to lender. Okay, what the lender nowadays cares is that you have enough for the down payment and the property will cash flow, right? That the debt coverage ratio is over 125. That's what they care the most. Okay, reserves nowadays are not as crucial as they used to be about 5 years ago. Okay, so now the lenders are loosening up their requirements on their reserves. Okay, so now it says breaking up. Okay, so you're hearing me. I want to make sure that somebody mentioned that it's breaking up. I want to make sure that it's okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. Perfect. Awesome. So let me just go over loud and clear. Awesome. So let me just go over the report. So the lender will want to see the comps, and then we show the comps that are within a 1 mile radius. Okay. If you show comps that are very far apart from the subject property, is not going to fly. So the comps have to be within a mile radius. Okay. So again, I'll show you back on the system that you have the ability to control the mile radius on the comps. And then if we scroll down, we're going to show what the taxes for the property are, what the outstanding loan is, and then the position on the loan. And then, so that's pretty much what the lender cares about. So in the chat, somebody asked about vacancy. Okay, here you can have a vacancy, right? So the way you can compute this is very simple. So if you have, you can put a dollar amount or you can do it on a percentage basis. So let's assume that you're gonna have 1 month of vacancy, okay? So 1 month of vacancy is about 13%, okay? So you can do 13% of 1,600, so that'll be times 87, okay? So 1392. Okay, actually I did it the other way around. So 16% is a rent. So we're gonna multiply these by 13%. So it's about $200 for vacancy. So you can add a $200 vacancy and that will for sure impact the numbers, right? When you add a vacancy. So here, if we add a vacancy, so if we're gonna end up with a vacancy a year, the cash flow can dramatically go down to almost $200, okay, if you end up with a vacancy. However, let's just for sakes look at the debt coverage ratio with that type of cash flow. So we're gonna do 1,400, which is right here. Now I'm gonna revisit the exact same numbers. So we're gonna do 1,400, okay, for the cash flow, which is your net operating income minus your expenses, 711, okay? And then we're gonna divide that by the principal and interest or your mortgage payment of 516. So we still have a debt coverage ratio of 133. So we're still above the 125. So this will still fly, okay? Even if we account for a vacancy, okay? This is still a good deal. And then something that when you work with the lender, they're gonna ask you what the plan is for this property. You can tell them if it's for a fix and flip, and then you show a profit of 80,000, then it's gonna be an easy sell to the bank, right? To move forward with the funding. If it's for a buy and hold, this is still very good. A debt coverage ratio of 133, that means that you have 33% excess cash to cover not only the principal and interest, but also all your operating expenses, okay? So this is still a good deal. for a buy and hold, okay? And then what we typically like to do is look at, when you're unsure about the vacancies, you want to take a look at the area reports in ChicagoDealVault, because we're going to give you what the vacancy rates are in Hanover Park. Okay, so I'm going to show you, because many of you may not be familiar with Hanover Park. So here we are going to pull up Hanover Park, okay? So for those of you who are not familiar with Hanover Park, let's just find out for sakes what is the vacancy rate in Hanover Park, okay? So I'm gonna scroll down. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger, okay? So one thing that I like to show you, friends, and we've gone through this in the past, but just as a reminder, look at the livability score. If this is over 70%, this is a good area. So when we look at an area, let's say if we're not familiar with Hanover Park at all, 0. If you see the livability over 70%, it's a good area, okay? So amenities is great. Cost of living, C, that means that it might be kind of expensive. Crime is very low. Education is good. Employment, so that means that there are not many great sources of employment in Hanover Park, okay? That's what it means. But overall, it's over 70%, so this is a good area. So crime is below the average, which is a red line. Let's go down to find out what the vacancies are in Hanover Park, okay? Income, you know, the income is above the average, 66 versus the average in Illinois, 57,000. So it's a great area. Growth, it's a stable area. As you can see, the growth, population growth is 0.06. So it's a stable area, Hanover Park. It's a good area. So now here we show you the industry, which pretty much shows you the employment breakdown, okay? What industries are predominant in this area. So now let's scroll down to the housing occupancy. This is what we want to look at. So look at this, vacant housing, the percentage is 4.76 right here. So it's very low. Vacancy in Hanover Park is very low. So the way we can translate that into our case, use case, is the rent is $1,600, okay? So 1,600, I'm gonna multiply this by, I'm gonna be conservative and have a 5% vacancy rate. So I'm gonna multiply that times 5%, okay? So the vacancy rate is gonna be $80, okay? 5% vacancy rate. So that's how you can also compute that. So this is our $80. So even if we do 100, so obviously the numbers are gonna work, okay? So I just go down and calculate. So the numbers are gonna continue to work. It has positive cash flow. Something that is sort of killing the numbers on this property is the taxes, okay? So taxes are kind of high in Hanover Park because when we went to the taxes for 2017, it's close to $5,000. So something to keep in mind, friends, is if you're gonna do a buy and hold on the property, is that you must appeal the taxes, okay? So what that means is that you wanna make sure that you pay the minimum amount of taxes. So we have tax appeal attorneys, okay, that can help you appeal the taxes the minute you buy the property. So in fact, I'm gonna show you where those are. So I'm gonna click up here on preferred partners, okay? And then we're gonna go to tax appeal right here. So we use John, okay, from Property Tax Advocates. So you get in touch with John and then you say, listen, John, I just purchased this property in Hanover Park and I wanna make sure that we pay the minimum amount of taxes. So John is gonna help you appeal the taxes. And the way the fees for John, they're gonna charge you a percentage of the savings. So if they save you $1,000, they might charge you 25% of that or 30% of that, okay? So that's something very important because when taxes are high, that pretty much affects your numbers. I'm gonna close that. This is the subject property that we're working on. So make sure that when you do a buy and hold, you appeal the taxes right away because taxes could be a deal breaker cash flow wise. Okay, make sure that when you do a buy and hold, you're gonna appeal the taxes. So we're giving you John's information to make sure that you file an appeal. He's gonna file an appeal on your behalf. Okay, so we right now completed the due diligence required to make sure that this deal gets funded by any asset-based lender, okay? So we now, let's go back to private lenders. I'm gonna show you how you can raise up capital for your deals, okay? So right here, we have private money lenders. So these are individuals or primarily individuals with tons of cash, okay? So we're gonna look for private money lenders that are asset-based in Hanover Park, okay? So Hanover Park, and then let's find out how many we find. So we found 7 private money lenders in Hanover Park, okay? So these are, on the left-hand side, these are the properties that were financed by these individuals, okay? So these individuals have financed these properties to investors like yourself. And on the right-hand side, we have the mailing information for these private money lenders. Not only that, but when you click, you hover over the name and then click on the name. So I'm gonna hover over the first one, Andres, and then when I click on the name, we're gonna give you their contact information, okay? So that you can get in touch. Is actually the second one, okay? Because that is in Chicago. So this individual you can get a hold of via email, phone, or you can do a mailing campaign, okay? So here we have the mailing campaign system to reach out to lenders. So we have a series of templates that you can use either as a script when you get on the phone with them, or to send them a letter. This is gonna help you raise capital for your funds, okay? Using private money lenders. Now, what is the advantage of using a private money lender? So the advantage is that you can get a very good deal, a good interest rate on the money that you get from them in a short-term basis. Not only that, but they will have less requirements than traditional lenders. And something that we came up with this year that is new, we have sent a questionnaire that looks like this. It has a lot of questions that we're gonna resend to make sure that we have this information from you, because once we have all this information from you, we're gonna know what lender we can connect you with. So you're gonna be getting a phone call from one of our preferred lenders, asset-based, that are going to qualify you for funding so that you have money for your 2019 deals, okay? So it is very important that you fill this out so that we line up funding for you. Because before, like 2-3 years ago, Frida and I struggled a lot trying to find lenders, right? We were struggling for money. So now what we like to do is we like lenders to come to us, right? So, but in order for that to happen, we need to make sure that you fill this out, okay? That we have that information that we can send to the lenders, and then they'll get back to you. Okay, so we have some questions. So here, one of the questions is, for a pre-foreclosure or upcoming auction property, is it a good idea to contact the owner's attorney listed, or avoid talking with attorney and instead look for another property that has only the owner listed? So the question is it a good idea to connect with the owner's attorney or the owner directly? So it is a good idea and recommended to go directly to the owner, okay? So if we're looking at this property, we wanna connect with the owner directly, okay? Because let me tell you, this information that you see down below, this is not the owner's attorney, okay? So let's make sure that this is clear, friends. This is the owner, okay, that is in foreclosure. And the plaintiff, this is the bank that is coming after the owner, because the owner owes Chase, right? And then this is the bank's attorney, and this is the bank's attorney contact information. So you do not want to call the attorney. To get the property under contract, you need to go directly to the owners. Okay, so you need to get in touch with John. And obviously, we also have a skip tracing in here, so you can hover over John, and then when you click on John, boom, we're gonna give you John's contact information. As you can see, this even matches, you know, the subject property that we're looking at. So we're gonna give you many phone numbers and then few emails for John. And then if it has multiple owners, like Rita, you can also click on Rita. So we're gonna give you Rita's email and more phone numbers. So obviously make sure that when you connect with the owners, you want to talk to the decision maker, okay? Whether it's Rita or John. So when you get on the phone, you want to set up an appointment. That's the first thing. So the way to do it, let me just give you a quick scenario. So I'm gonna pick up the phone and say, call John, this is Hugh, I'm a real estate investor, and I understand you're going through foreclosure process. I can help you buy your property cash and help you move on with your life. Would tomorrow work for you to set up an appointment and show you how I can help you? So you need to be assertive when you and confident when you get on the phone with the owners to set an appointment, okay? And then in the training tab right here, we have several videos, right? Make sure that you go over the videos that are gonna show you how to build rapport, create interest, most importantly, get the owners to sign the contract. So make sure that you go over these 7 to 8, 9 minute videos that are gonna help you get the property on the contract. Okay, let me go back to the subject property. Okay, so now we have another one. It says, most of the time owners do not respond. In this case, who to contact? Real estate agent does not want to help in this case. Okay, so the question, the concern is that when you click on here, we're using one of the most accurate skip tracing services, right? To pull their contact information. But there might be cases that you may not be able to get in touch with John or Rita, okay? But if this is such a great deal, friends, that you're gonna be paying 50 cents on the dollar, the next step is to do door knocking. I highly recommend that you actually go to the property, okay? Go to the property to talk to John or Rita in person. If you're, for whatever reason, not able to get in touch with them via email or phone to make an appointment, do door knocking. That is one of the fastest and easiest way to build rapport, okay? If for whatever reason you are not able to. Now here, there's a question, another question. I have had the same experience. The only response was to tell me the property was not in foreclosure. Okay, so here, friends, if the owner tells you that it's not in foreclosure, let me tell you, you're gonna be surprised, but many owners are in foreclosure and they are not even aware of that, okay? For whatever reason, whether they don't open up their mail or for whatever reason, but when you see right here that the property is in foreclosure, they are indeed in financial distress and they have fallen behind their mortgage payment. Therefore, the bank has sued them, okay, for payment, meaning they're in foreclosure. So this data is very accurate, okay? So the owners are indeed in foreclosure. Okay, so they might give you they might tell you that the property is not in foreclosure, but that is not true. You want to make sure that you make this clear to them. You tell them, okay, it is public record that your property is in foreclosure. And John, I'm here to help you. I'm a real estate investor and I'm here to help you because if you do nothing, you will lose the property, you're gonna lose the equity and you're gonna ruin your credit. So I'm here to help you, okay? Because many owners, guess what? They are in denial. They are in denial of their financial situation, that they just don't want to face reality that they will lose the property to judicial auction. Okay, so okay, another question. It says, okay, so they're saying that sometimes the properties have been sold. Okay, so off-market properties have been sold. Okay, so one way to check that, that's a great question. Okay, so let me show you how you can easily check that. Okay, so for instance, right now we show that the owner is John and Rita. So these are the people that we show in record, but to prove that they're still the owner, you need to click on owner and loans, okay? And indeed, we show that Rita and John are still the owners of the property. So we get this information from a company called CoreLogic. CoreLogic is the owner of all the real estate data in the United States. Even the MLS uses CoreLogic for public records. This is coming from public records. So this is the very latest information. So I can assure you that this property has not been sold because the primary owner in here matches this owner, John and Rita. There might be cases where they are different. And if they are different, let's say if we were to see a different owner here, then that's an indication that this property might have been sold to another investor like yourself. Okay, so it is a safe way to make sure that you check that the owner shown right here matches the owner of record. Because this is coming, let me tell you, this is coming from the owner, public records, owner of record for this particular property. And these names, these are the defendants of the case, right? So this is a county case, right? In DuPage County. So these are the defendants. So the defendants are showing right here, right? But again, you're absolutely right. They may not necessarily be the owners, but that is why you look at the filing date, right? So look at the filing date. So this was filed end of October, so beginning of November. So this has been in foreclosure November, December. So this has been in foreclosure for 2 months. So I can assure you that this property has not yet been sold, okay? So great question. Another question is, I think owners do not trust investors, right? That you want to help them, but they are afraid of talking to you. Definitely, because they are in denial, right? So let me tell you, the foreclosure process can take up to 2 years from the filing date. So this is when the actual filing of the case occurred 2 months ago, okay? The foreclosure can take up to 2 years from this date, okay? So obviously, at the beginning, the owners are gonna be in total denial, okay? They're hoping they will keep the property for some magical way. They will continue to own the property. But guess what? If they don't come current with the loan, if they don't pay the mortgage, they will lose the property to auction because the bank needs to collect the outstanding balance of about $80,000 plus late fees. So yes, many owners will not trust that you're going to help them, but you need to build rapport, right? That is why it's important for you to watch those videos that I show you, because the minute the owners see that you empathize with their situation, that you're truly and honestly trying to help them, they will want to talk to you, okay? So believe me, they will want to work with you if they see that you can empathize with their situation, that you acknowledge the fact that they're going through financial distress, right? And that you help them understand that if they don't come current with the bank, they will lose the property, the equity, and they're going to ruin their credit. So you are there to help. So believe me, many owners are going to be willing to work with you. That is why my preferred lead pipe is upcoming auctions. Why, friends? Because these are the properties that are going to go to the judicial auction in 30 to 45 days. So guess what? Owners are going to be extremely motivated to take action because the time is ticking. So they have 30 to 45 days to do something about it. Otherwise, they're going to lose the property, equity, and ruin their credit in 30 to 45 days. These people, since they just started the foreclosure process, they might still not be aware of what it means for them, right, to be in foreclosure. So yeah, it's valid that they may not trust you. Okay. Now, other questions. What do you say when you door knock? Okay, so if you decide, okay, for whatever reason, we skip trace John, right? And he's not picking up the phone or we're not able to get a hold of John, you actually go and door knock on their property, right? So you're gonna say exactly the same thing as you were to say over the phone. And let me tell you, you can use the scripts that we have in the filtering criteria right here. We have the letters, right? That if we decide to do mailers, you can use these letters as the script, right? When you door knock, right? So you can say, you know, you introduce yourself, and the most important thing is to empathize, right? To acknowledge, right? I understand, Mr. John, that you're going through financial distress and your property is currently in foreclosure. So you need to acknowledge, validate, right, their financial distress. So once they believe that you truly empathize with their situation, they will let you in the door. Okay, so that is key. So make sure that you go over these templates that we have, because you can use these as your script when you talk to the owners. Okay, so this is going to give you the script that you can use when you door knock or when you talk to them on the phone. Okay, so now another question is, do you wait to reach out to the lender or private lenders until you have the property in the contract? No, this is a great question. So the question is, do you need to wait till you have the property in the contract? No, friends, you need to line up your funding. You need to have the available funding ready when you're ready to pull the trigger, right? You don't want to have an awesome deal and not be ready with the funding. So you want to make sure that you fill this questionnaire, right, that we sent out to you, because we're going to make sure that you're qualified for funding, okay? And not only that, but that you have at least one or two lenders available to help you finance the deal. So we're going to make sure that we connect you with the right lenders for you to close on the deal. Because once you find a great deal like this one that we're going over in Hanover Park, then you want to make sure that we are able to close on the deal. Okay. So now there's another question. Are you able to wholesale a foreclosure property that you have on the contract? Absolutely. Once you have the property on the contract, you can wholesale the property, because what you are doing is you're reassigning the contract to somebody else. So let's assume that I got a hold of John, and then I got him to sign the 2-page contract that I show you right here. So John was able to sign this contract, okay, for $140,000. Well, guess what? I can turn around and reassign the contract to a cash buyer, right? And then for a fee. So to do that, we give you the cash buyers. So let me show you how we do that. So on their cash buyers, we can just find all the cash buyers in Hanover Park, because these are people that are used to paying retail prices cash. So this is something very important to distinguish, friends. So we found 102 cash buyers in Hanover Park right here. So these are the properties they bought cash. These are the cash buyers. And guess what? We skip trace them again. So if I hop over and click on the name, we're going to give you for most of them their contact information, okay? So that you can reach out to the cash buyer. So something that is important to realize is that when you reach out to cash buyers, those are your primary target audience, because they're used to paying retail prices cash. You do not want to wholesale the property to another investor. Why? Because if I wholesale the deal to another investor, guess what? the other investor needs meat on the bone, right? They need to make a profit, whether they're going to do a buy and hold, fix and flip. So they need room, okay, for the deal to make sense. So they're just going to give you a wholesale fee, $5,000, $10,000 at the most, right? But if you wholesale the deal to a cash buyer, you can make 20, 25, 30,000, right? When you wholesale the deal to a cash buyer used to paying retail prices. Okay, so that is something very important. Not only that, but if we go back to the subject property, we're going to give you the assignment contract. So right here, we have the wholesale tab. So we can create a flyer for you. Okay, so you fill this information out, upload some pictures, and then when you click on generate, we're going to generate a PDF, nice flyer that you can present to the cash buyers. You can post the property in ChicagoDealVault, okay? So we have wholesale deals right here. And not only that, but we're gonna do a blast email to our network to help you market the wholesale deal for free, friends, okay? And then we give you, when you click on assignment contract, we give you the one-page contract that you need to use to do the wholesale. So this is where you specify the wholesale fee that you wanna make when you reassign the contract. So the answer is yes, you can wholesale a foreclosed property that you have on the contract. Okay, now another question. Do you have a class on wholesale? I got a deal today. If I can fund it, I would love to wholesale it. Yes, friends, we have a class. Actually, it's this Saturday. This has been, I'm gonna be presenting on Saturday. So actually, I'm gonna give you, for those of you who are interested in a wholesale class, this is taught by Joe Mueller and Dan Carlton this weekend. It's all day Saturday and Sunday. I'm gonna be there on Saturday night. We're gonna be using ChicagoDealVault as the back end. So please send me a message or an email to support@chicagodealvault.com. And then you're going to get a discount for being part of ChicagoDealVault when you sign up for the class. Okay, it's a wholesale class. Actually, technically, it's a class that shows you how to get the property on the contract, but they're going to cover wholesaling in that class. Okay, so now another question is, since these are retail cash buyers, how do you come up with a price versus the formula you see for an investor buyer? So the question is, how much should you wholesale the property to a cash buyer versus an investor? So you know the numbers, right, on the property. So our numbers, if we look at the numbers for this property, we're going to be paying 50 cents on the dollar, 120, okay? So when you wholesale the property, you want to wholesale it to, if you do a wholesale to an investor, you can assure that you can get it 5,000, 10,000, no more than, I would say, no more than 15,000. That's going pretty high. But if you wholesale these to a cash buyer, you can easily get 20, 30,000 when you wholesale the property to a cash buyer. Okay, so you can tag the price onto these. And the beauty of wholesaling the property is that you don't need to purchase the property. You don't need to have the funds. You will just do the reassignment of the contract. And then the person who you're wholesaling the property to obviously is going to be responsible for closing on the property. Okay, so now another question. I don't have funding, but I have a deal. I did it backwards. How fast can you get approved and close? Okay, so this is a great question. I don't have funding, but I have a deal. So friends, this is one of the misconceptions, right? One of the myths that people have led you to believe that if you don't have money, you cannot get into real estate. That is absolutely wrong. If you have a deal, guess what? You're going to have plenty of people who want to give you the money, who want to partner up with you, right? Would love to partner up with you. So if you have a great deal, funding is not going to be a problem. So one of the things, I'm glad that you mentioned this, one of the things that we're going to be doing this month, friends, is we are going to have a networking event on a Sunday. So what we're gonna do is, it's gonna be called speed networking. So we're gonna have all the members of Chicago Deal Vault, and you are gonna get to know every single one of them. We're gonna do a game, right? So you're gonna get to know each other very quickly. So the objective is to match you up so that you can find a partner. So you can find somebody who has what you don't have. Okay, so if you don't have money, we're gonna hook you up with somebody who has money. If you have a great deal, we're gonna make sure that, but don't have any money, we're gonna make sure that we hook you up with somebody who's got the money. If you are handy, if you're a handyman, or if you have a construction crew, but you don't have the money, we're gonna make sure that we hook you up with somebody that will be a good fit for you. So look out after that event. It's going to be within the next 4 weeks that we're going to do that event. It's going to be a fun event. First time we do this, we're going to sponsor dinner. It's going to be very cool, friends. So we're going to help you. But if you have a great deal, by all means, you can send that deal to us, and we're going to do a blast email to the network, okay? And believe me, we're going to hook you up with a partner, a funding partner, like this week. If you have a great deal, you're going to have the money this week, okay? So send us the address, send us the details, and then we're going to do a blast email to the network of members of Chicago Deal Vault. And then believe me, you're going to have a partner for it. Okay, so the question is, where is the questionnaire? Okay, so this questionnaire. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to send you all this link for you to fill out in the chat. So I'm gonna send these to everyone on the line right now. So I'm gonna send the link. Okay, I just sent you the link to everyone. And then if you have a great deal, you can send these to support@ChicagoDealVault.com. So when you send us a deal, we're gonna make sure that we vet the deal, okay? We're not gonna be just taking your property and then doing a blast email. We're gonna run through the numbers. We're gonna make sure that it makes sense, right? Because we don't want to promote something that is not a good deal, okay? We wanna make sure that we vet the deal. So another question, if you sent a blast, won't we jeopardize them going over our heads and cut us off? So the question is, when we do a blast email, will that jeopardize? Well, it won't. Why? Because we will black out the full address, right? So we will just give you, let's say if the address is 1234 Main Street, we can do 123 XX Main Street, for instance, right? So we won't disclose the full address to prevent jeopardizing the deal, okay? So that's how we prevent cutting people off. So we're gonna make sure that your deal is safe when we do a blast email, because we want to help each other, right? So we want to, but at the same time, we want to ensure privacy. If you have a great deal, we're going to ensure your privacy, and at the same time, we want to hook you up with the right partner. Okay, so another question is, have you ever, or can you assign a foreclosed property you get on the contract? Yes, we just covered that. So you can wholesale or reassign the contract of a foreclosed property. Totally, you can do that. Okay, friends. So tonight, let me just quickly summarize what we went over. We went over one of the most important ratios that you need to be aware of. Okay, so debt coverage ratio, make sure that you understand this. It's a net operating income divided by the mortgage payment. And the net operating income is your income minus your expenses divided by the mortgage payment. Make sure that this is over 125, okay? So what that means is if it's 133, in this case, that means that you're generating, or your property generates that much more cash in excess of what is required to cover all your expenses, including the mortgage payment, okay? So make sure that you have 2 successful exit strategies, okay? So make sure that you fill these 2 out, rental and flip, and that you generate the report that you're gonna present to the owners. So friends, I don't see any more questions on the line. So thank you very much for having joined tonight. And for those of you who did not get the chance to join, we have recorded this presentation. So we're going to be sending the replay for this mastermind, okay? And then please make sure you fill out the questionnaire, because you are going to get a phone call from one of our preferred lenders, because we want to make sure that you have funding for your 2019 deals, okay? We want to make sure that you line up funding so that when you have a great deal, it goes smooth, okay? So if there are no further questions, thank you very much. And then I'll send over the details for the class. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna show you the website about the class. It's here, Kit. Okay, this is the website. I'm gonna send this over the chat. Kitchen to Closing. This is for this weekend's class. It's been held up this Saturday and Sunday, January 12th and 13th, okay? So make sure that you mention ChicagoDealVault as a promo code, and you're gonna get a $500 discount on this class.
Hugo, it's not gonna be at the offices. They changed it.
Oh, okay, they changed it. Thank you, John, for bringing that up. So I will get in touch with Dan and Joe, and then make sure that I send out the correct address.
Yeah, how much is the cost?
I believe it's, the retail price is $1,500, but if you're a member of ChicagoDealVault, it's going to be about $1,000. Okay, and I'm going to be there on Saturday night presenting. So we're going to cover some really cool stuff, friends. So I just sent you the link, and yeah, indeed, this is going to be at a hotel. So it's not going to be at their offices. It's going to be at a hotel. So thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. And we're going to send the replay tonight. Okay, so thank you. And I look forward to the next mastermind next week. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Hugo, do you have his website or his email address on there?
Yes, I just sent the website. It's via the chat, so it's in there. kitchentoclosing.com, and the contact information is there. But you can also reach out to us. Send us an email to support@chicagodealvault.com, and we'll be able to help you. Make sure that you come to the class if you're interested. Awesome. So thank you, friends, for joining tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at, next week at the next mastermind.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.